Rafael Devers said that he refuses to move off of third base and potentially to designated hitter to make room for Alex Bregman. Is there trouble brewing in the Red Sox clubhouse?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's completely free. I am here giving you free Red Sox content, so might as well continue to check it out. There could be some trouble brewing in the Red Sox clubhouse as they have officially signed Alex Bregman. The deal became official on Sunday, and he had his opening press conference with the team, and he is very excited to be here. He was super giddy and happy during that opening press conference, saying that Dustin Pedroia talked to him a lot about what it's like to play in Boston and how it's just a really special place to play. And he was even saying, too, how when he was in Houston, every time we go to Fenway, there's just an energy, whether it's a Monday or a Sunday. It's a great atmosphere. So he's clearly excited to play in Boston. He said, I'm a winning player. This is a winning organization. Those players are winning players. We have winning coaches here. I plan on winning here after talking with some of the guys over the last 2 days. I can see that there's something special here. So he sees a winning potential in this Red Sox team, and that is a big reason why he decided to commit to Boston, who ironically actually drafted him out of high school in the 29th round of the 2012 MLB draft. He ended up opting to go to LSU at that point where he became one of the school's all-time greats. But now it's a really full circle moment. Almost 13 years later, he is wearing a Red Sox uniform. So I thought that was kind of cool, actually, that it's a full circle Red Sox moment for him. And he's very excited to be here. And one of the biggest things about Alex Bregman that stood out to me from the start of this whole offseason was him stating pretty early on that he was willing to move positions for a team. And with the Red Sox, the given for pretty much the majority of the offseason was that the idea would be that if they get Alex Bregman, that he would move to second base so that Devers can play third. But Devers does not seem to be on board with the potential that anything other than that could happen. So I'm going to be touching on that on today's show. Also going to be giving an update on Kutter Crawford, whose start of the season could end up being delayed, and also discussing a couple of takeaways from Sam Kennedy's press conference that he had yesterday. So Rafael Devers is supposed to be the team leader. He is the heart and soul of the team. He's the guy you offer this big extension to. He is the guy who is going to be the face of your franchise for years to come. And during his press conference on Monday, he was asked if he would be willing to move to DH, and he straight up said, no, I play third. He was very adamant about the idea of being against playing anything other than third base for this Red Sox team. And it started posing a question of, is it not a foregone conclusion that Alex Bregman will play second base to start the season for the Red Sox? Because for a while, we thought that that was going to be the case. Even when the Red Sox signed him last week, everybody's assumption was, yeah, he is going to be the opening day second baseman, and then you don't have to rush your prospects as much, and it puts less pressure on them because you have Christian Campbell in the system who is going to eventually come up and hopefully be the second base of the future, who's going to really produce at the major league level. But by having Alex Bregman start the season at second, it takes the pressure off of him of having to come up and produce right away at the major league level this upcoming season. It gives the Red Sox the chance to allow him to stay in AAA a little bit longer so that when he gets called up, he's 100% ready. I mean, we saw what happened with the Orioles and Jackson Holliday. They kind of rushed up his debut, and he ended up not performing very well when he got called up. I'm expecting him to improve now that he's gotten that major league exposure, but I don't want the same thing to happen to Campbell. I want him to be able to come up and really show what he can do at the major league level and not have his call up be because the Red Sox don't have another option. I want it to be when they genuinely feel like he's ready and deserves his shot. So by starting Alex Bregman at second base, you're giving him that opportunity to continue to develop in AAA a little bit more. So that is the plus side to him starting at second. The downside to him starting at second base is that Devers would still be playing third. And as much as I love and adore Rafi, he is not a good defensive third baseman, and he made tons of errors over there over the last couple seasons. And you could argue that Story being at shortstop could help because he covers a lot of ground over on that part of the infield. And having a fully healthy Story all year could definitely benefit Devers. But at the same time, he does have these self-inflicted errors that he creates, and it is a concern and a liability for the Red Sox. So if he starts the season at third base, we just have to accept the fact that we might not see the sharpest defense from him. And he has to really hope that he impresses defensively if he's refusing to move off of third base. Then if you look at the flip side, if you move Bregman and have him play third base instead of second, which is obviously the position that he is used to playing more, then the benefit to that is that you take Devers off of third and you have an upgrade defensively because Bregman is a really good defender. So him next to Trevor Story at shortstop and third base could be a great combination. And then you're not worrying about Devers' defense and you're having him primarily focus on his hitting by being a designated hitter. And mentally that could help him more because he won't be distracted by the errors that he made in the field if he's just focusing on his hitting. So that's a benefit to that. The downside to that is that you are then forced to either have Grissom or Campbell play second base to start the season. And you have to hope that either one of them is ready to perform and step up at the major league level. So there's definitely pros and cons to both because obviously there's potential in those two guys with Grissom and Campbell, particularly Campbell, who is expected to be a superstar moving forward for the Red Sox. But the thing is that if you take one of those two guys and start them there on opening day, that's a gamble because you're just hoping that they're ready. So there's definitely pros and cons to which either direction the Red Sox take with this. But when it comes to this whole remark about Devers being unwilling to move, that is a tough look on him because he is supposed to be the team leader, and team leaders don't not do what's best for the team. Imagine you being at your job and your boss saying, go do this. We're going to change your position a little bit and have you take on these responsibilities instead. And you were to just say no. I mean, you probably would be fired on the spot. Obviously, that's not the case. It's going to happen here. I mean, Devers is still going to get paid his money, but it kind of sends a bad message to his teammates of, I want to play third and I'm unwilling to move, even if it's best for the team and the team's overall success. So that to me is something that he needs to do better with, at least with vocalizing that. I don't really think that was something that should have been made public to the media or to fans because now people are speculating, is there going to be controversy in the Red Sox clubhouse? I think there are certain things that should not be said when you're talking to the media, and he could have worded that a lot better, saying something along the lines of, I know the team is still trying to feel out the situation. I feel more comfortable at third and I've shown improvement in that area. So hopefully I get that opportunity to play third this year. That's not really closing the door on moving, but it's also not saying I want to move either. And it wouldn't cause this whole controversy here that we're in right now. Now, on the flip side of that, where does the front office come in? Because Alex Cora did comment on this Rafael Devers situation and said that basically Chaim Bloom is not here anymore. He's in St. Louis now. And that is implying that Chaim Bloom was the one who promised Devers that he would be the third baseman of the future. And from what I'm hearing, that happened before Devers signed the extension. So if that was the case, if the Red Sox promised Devers the spot as the third baseman of the future when he signed his extension with the team, then it is pretty dirty work on the organization to try to let him know a month before the season starts that they might need him to change positions. If they were anticipating anything about even showing interest in Alex Bregman or another infielder of some kind, they should have had this conversation with Devers much earlier, because I do feel like there's a chance he could have been more open to it if he wasn't so blindsided by the whole thing. And I feel like in his eyes, going through all of this time thinking he was going to be the third baseman and taking all these reps at third base for the organization to drop this ball on him a month before the season starts, like, by the way, we might need you to move to DH so that Bregman can play third. I don't think that's necessarily fair to Devers either. So if that was the case, I do think both sides are a little bit at fault here. However, it's hard to really know what the context of all of this was, because what if it wasn't actually a promise that he got from Bloom and more just Bloom saying something along the lines of, we have faith in you playing third base. You know, we trust your abilities to continue to improve defensively at that position. That's a lot different from saying, I promise you, you are the third baseman of the future. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff here that we might not know about that could make it very difficult to fully conclude actually what happened here and where the miscommunication was, but somebody dropped the ball somewhere. Something happened here where there was a miscommunication between the Red Sox and Devers about where they stood in terms of the third base position. And Alex Cora has come out and said that when it comes to Alex Bregman, he wants him to play a position and not move around. He doesn't really care what position he plays. It's just more once they decide where he's going to play that he doesn't get moved around and he plays that same position all year. But he's taking reps at both second base and third base right now in spring training. So the Red Sox have not really made a definitive decision on which position he's going to play. And if I'm Rafael Devers, I could be frustrated about the situation. I could feel like I have been promised the third base spot for the future, but I don't agree with coming out and saying that to the media when you're now getting other people involved when it should be a problem between you and the organization. I do feel like Alex Cora will be able to talk to Devers about it. And the thing about Alex Cora that I really like, that I continue to defend him on, is his ability to connect with players. And I feel like if Cora goes to Devers and says, look, you got the bank, you're making all this money from us now, which is fantastic for your career. Now, wouldn't you want to focus on championships and winning more World Series with this team? Why don't we try to think about what could be best for the team to do that? Because you personally have expressed that you're very hungry to win and you just want the Red Sox to be a competitive baseball team. So why don't you do your part to help make that happen? I think if Alex Cora approaches it like that and talks to Devers about the situation and says, this is what's best for our team for this season, then I think Devers might be able to get a little more open to the idea of moving off of third. I don't agree with him being put on the spot in a press conference like that, nor do I agree with him making it a public thing, because now you have all this chatter about it, and the Red Sox clubhouse seemed like it was going to be very good this year in terms of vibes. A lot of guys really excited and hungry and want to win, especially according to what Alex Bregman said in his opening press conference with the team. But now you have this little conflict here that's going on with Devers and the team, and how is that going to impact the team's overall vibe? So I'm hoping Cora can talk to him about it. Again, I feel like both sides are at fault here in some capacity. I don't think the front office is handling this situation very well at all. But at the same time, they do get the final say because they want to win. And if they choose to move Devers off of third base, there is nothing he can really do about it except request a trade, which I am also a little bit concerned about when it comes to this situation, because him requesting a trade is a really bad look for the Red Sox organization, because he is the face of the franchise. He is the guy that you just extended to this long-term contract. And if he requests a trade, it's going to send a message to other players like, the Red Sox don't care about their guys who they were claiming they wanted to build around, and they are not doing enough to make that player happy. So there has to be a balance between doing what's best for the team and also trying to keep him happy, because it could affect the long-term future of the organization and the outside perspective of players. So we'll have to see how it all gets resolved and what it means for the Red Sox moving forward. But coming up, I'm going to be discussing Kutter Crawford, who may end up missing opening day, and what that could mean for the Red Sox rotation. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. SelectQuote has absolutely saved my life, and I don't want you to miss out. So definitely take advantage of that today. In talking about the Red Sox and their infield situation for 2025, Rafael Devers seems pretty adamant about not moving off of third base and going to be a DH. And the Red Sox have to tread this situation very carefully, because the last thing they want to do is make Devers really upset to the point where he requests a trade and doesn't want to play in Boston anymore, because this is your franchise player. And if you come across like you don't really care about his happiness, it's going to send a negative message to other players moving forward. So it's a tough situation for the Red Sox to navigate. I don't think it's being handled well right now, but we'll see if Devers warms up to the idea a little bit more, if he talks to Alex Cora. And it also makes you wonder what this says about the Red Sox and how much they value a guy like Christian Campbell. Does this send a message that they truly feel like Campbell is ready to be on the opening day roster? So they're really trying to push for Bregman to play third so that they can allow him that chance to get his opportunity at second, because they like what they've seen from him in the minors? That is definitely one question that this poses. Is it because of Campbell and they really want to fit him in on the opening day roster because they feel really confident that he's ready? Or does it show more that they really don't want Masataka Yoshida to be a full-time DH because they just don't feel like he's reliable enough, so therefore they want to move Devers to that role and feel like they're upgrading at the DH spot by putting Devers there? It could be one of either of those things. It hasn't really been made clear yet which one it is, but it definitely is one of those scenarios that the Red Sox are thinking about, and it could reflect a lot about their lack of faith in Yoshida or the faith that they do have in Campbell. So it'll be interesting to see how that all turns out. But another situation that has been discussed over the course of this offseason is whether the Red Sox will do a 6-man starting rotation for 2025, because they have 6 eligible starters who could be part of that rotation. That might not be a question to start the season, because Kutter Crawford is dealing with a knee injury. It turned out that last season he was dealing with discomfort in his patellar tendon in the right knee, basically starting with his third start of the season on. So for his first couple starts, it sounded like he was fine. But then after that, since stepping foot on the mound for the third time all the way through the rest of the season, he was dealing with some pain, and it wasn't really made public at the time because he probably was hoping it would just go away, but it has not gone away. And now his status for the start of the season is iffy. He said that's not really in my hands. It's kind of whatever process they want to do in the training room. But yeah, I can't really speak on that. So he's basically saying, obviously, if I had the choice, I would love to be out there pitching, but it's not my decision. I have to get cleared by somebody to be able to say I'm ready to go out there and throw. He threw a bullpen session on Friday, but Alex Cora said it wasn't at full intensity and that he is behind the other pitchers. Crawford did feel confident that a full winter of rest and rehab would cure what was bothering him, but he had a setback in the offseason. He said, yeah, it's something that I kind of dealt with last year. I just kind of flew through it. I did something to it this offseason. I had a couple hiccups within the rehab progression of it all. I'm just a little behind. The strength just isn't there where we want it to be. And yeah, just a little behind, kind of taking it day by day. So it sounds like there's not a lot of confidence there that he'll feel 100% by opening day. He was the Red Sox hottest pitcher to start the season last year, posting a .66 ERA in his first 4 starts. But then as the knee issue lingered, his performance did take a dip, and so did his velocity, hence his giving up a lot of home runs throughout the course of the season. You have to wonder if that had to do with this injury at all, or him feeling that pain in his knee. Despite all of that, he did lead the team in starts with 33, innings with 183 and 2/3, and strikeouts with 175. But again, he gave up the most homers in the majors last year with 34. So again, that could be a direct correlation to his knee bothering him. He said, that's kind of what I take pride in. And at that time, they needed me every 5th day. I'm going to grab the ball every 5th day and give you everything I got. So yeah, I do take pride in it, but I also at the same time, it took a toll on my body, which for sure, I just hope that him pitching through it doesn't impact his durability longer term. And if this is something that's a serious issue, I'm hoping that he really is taking it step by step and taking it slow. And if that means missing the start of the season, then so be it, because obviously it's better for him to be healthy down the road than it is for him to be able to try to force pitch his way through this injury to start the season and then end up being affected longer term down the road. He said, my 3rd start of the season, I covered first base, and as soon as I hit the base, something happened. I just couldn't put a whole lot of weight on it. As you could tell, my velo was declining a little bit. While he hopes to avoid surgery on this, he did acknowledge that the situation will continue to be monitored, saying, oh, it's too early for anything like that. I think we've got to get the strength up first in that knee and then kind of go from there. If I still have pain and discomfort, then we'll probably reassess the situation. But kind of just right now, day by day, just trying to build the strength in it. Crawford was a middle of the rotation pitcher for the Red Sox last year. He just was. It was what it was. But because the Red Sox added Garrett Crochet and Walker Buehler to the mix this season, and Lucas Giolito's healthy again, if everyone is healthy, Crawford realistically does rank 6th on the depth chart right now as it is. So if he doesn't start the season in the rotation, then they can just go with that 5-man rotation with the other 5 pitchers, because you have Crochet, Buehler, and Giolito, and then you also have Bayo and Houck. So that could be your 5 starters to start the season, with Crawford working his way back into the mix when he's healthy enough. And I almost feel like this echoes back to the point that you need depth. You never know. And in this sport, injuries are inevitable. They're just unfortunately part of the game. I wish everybody could be healthy all the time. That would be ideal, but that's unfortunately not the case. So when you have a situation like this that happens, it really brings attention to how important it is to have depth, because now the Red Sox can start the season with a regular 5-man rotation with guys who they already pictured being in the starting rotation to begin with, as opposed to trying to force somebody up from AAA who might not be ready, or try to force Garrett Whitlock to start when they really want him to pitch in the bullpen, or maybe bring Cooper Criswell in to start again. There are certain pitchers that could do that, but it's not really the ideal starting rotation that the Red Sox had in mind. So now, because they had this potential 6th-man rotation going, if Crawford does miss the start of the season, you still can do a regular 5-man rotation and you don't have to move anything around because you already have those 5 starters set. So that's why it's so important to be able to think ahead to certain things and be able to provide that depth at certain positions, because you just really never know if players are going to be able to stay healthy. Crawford said, I feel like it's always competition, right? If you don't have competition, then people aren't getting better. So it's always competition within the group. And yeah, I think that makes everybody better. He does realize that he needs to get his knee right again, before being consumed with where he actually fits into the Red Sox rotation. He said, I definitely don't want to be in this spot right now. Going through the offseason, I put in a lot of work. I feel like I got in pretty good shape overall, but the knee was just something that was just dragging behind. Like I said, I had a couple hiccups. I was doing some strength testing and the knee did not agree with it. And it kind of just set me back a little bit. So at least he acknowledges the injury. He didn't make any promises to the Red Sox or the fans that he would definitely be available for opening day. I think he's still holding out hope that he could be, because he still is trying to figure out exactly how bad this injury is and how much time it could impact him for. So the Red Sox don't have a clear-cut timeline on him, but if it's really bothering him as much as he thinks it is, or feels like it is when he's pitching, there is a chance that he's going to need surgery. And if that is the case, then he could end up missing the entirety of the season, which obviously we hope doesn't end up being the case. But again, because the Red Sox got some more pitching depth this offseason, it goes to show that they can afford to lose Kutter for a little bit of time and still not really feel like they're being impacted super negatively because of the fact that they have these other pitchers who are hoping to have really solid seasons for Boston in 2025. So it just goes to show you have to make moves, and you can't just assume everybody's going to work out or everybody's going to be healthy all the time. I'm wishing for the absolute best for Kutter. I am actually really excited about what his potential could be if he is fully healthy and doesn't have this knee issue that's bothering him. Maybe his numbers will turn around a little bit and he could be a little bit more consistent. So we'll have to stay in the loop on that and whether he's able to go out there to start the season in 2025, because it's not looking super promising as of right now. But coming up, what is promising is a couple of things that Sam Kennedy said in his press conference on Monday. So I'm going to be discussing that next. Don't forget that Locked On Red Sox is available on any podcast platform. Just make sure you search for the show, and I am dropping new episodes daily as we get closer and closer to baseball season, keeping you in the loop on all things going on with this Boston Red Sox team. You can also listen to it on YouTube. I will actually be heading to spring training in about a week and a half or so, so I will get some coverage from there and talk about the state of the team during spring training, what some of the prospects are looking like. So you definitely won't want to miss that. So make sure you check out the show wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who is absolutely hilarious and will incorporate humor into his shows and keep you up to date on all things going on across the league. So if you want to stay on board with what's going on with other baseball teams, check out his show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast right after you listen to Locked On Red Sox, of course. And I do appreciate you making this show your first listen of every day. Get the latest Red Sox news first. Then you can switch over to Locked On MLB and figure out where the other teams are at and where the Red Sox could stack up. Sam Kennedy had a press conference with the media on Monday, and he was very giddy, it seemed like, during the press conference. Just seemed like he was speaking with no pressure on him, just in a very good mood. And he was smiling, and he just seemed very happy to be talking about the current state of the Boston Red Sox. And I really do think the front office is feeling really excited and happy at the fact that they landed Bregman, because they know that the fan base will take some heat off of them now, because they have dealt with so much backlash over the last few years, rightfully so, about their lack of desire to want to improve the Major League Baseball team. And they know that Alex Bregman was a big move, and they know they dished out a lot of money for him. And one of the things that Sam Kennedy said in his press conference that stood out to me was that they are over the CBT right now, because over the last few seasons, they were so paranoid about going over the CBT because of the tax penalties that they would have to pay if so. But he made it clear, we know we are over the CBT right now, and we anticipate being over in 2025, which is a very good sign, because it shows that the Red Sox have changed their mentality about spending, and it shows that they are no longer as paranoid about staying under that CBT so that they don't get penalized when it comes to that luxury tax. And I really liked hearing that from him. He said, we expect to be over in 2025, and, we know that players are worth it to spend that kind of money on. And another thing that he said that I want to make sure doesn't get misconstrued is he said we aren't done yet. And I think some people are taking that as they're definitely adding some more pieces this offseason. But he did kind of make that clear. He didn't necessarily rule that out, but he also didn't say they are definitely making more moves to add to this roster. He kind of said, we are not done yet because we haven't proved anything yet. We haven't won anything yet. We need to go out and win, and our job isn't done until then. So he did also say we're not technically done until the trade deadline, basically implying that they might not add any more players immediately in this offseason, but at the trade deadline, they could make more moves once they see where the team is at that point and what their needs are then. So he kind of implied that just because they got Alex Bregman doesn't mean they're just cutting it off, no longer making any more moves to add to this team this offseason or going into the year. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that they're adding more pieces now because he did kind of say that when he was talking, but he didn't rule it out either. So it's kind of hard to really say for sure if they're going to add anybody, but it definitely sounded like they're not ruling out that possibility. And another thing that I appreciated about what Sam Kennedy said was that he actually took responsibility for the Red Sox performances the last few years and the fact that they've been underperforming, because he said, we know that over the last few seasons, 2022, 2023, and 2024, we have not been performing to the expectations that the Red Sox organization should be performing to. And he said that's 100% on us. And us means the front office because he's the spokesperson for the front office. He said that's completely on us, and we know, and we are tired of that, and we really want to get back to winning. And for the first time, I really believed him. I genuinely felt like that was sincere, and them going out and signing Bregman showed that they want to go back to winning. And the whole entire press conference just really was a really different type of attitude towards this Red Sox team. It was just him talking a lot about how their approach is different now and how they're tired of having a season like the last few seasons were, and they took responsibility for that and know it was on them and they want to fix it. And it gives me really exciting vibes heading into this upcoming season. I do feel like they know injuries are part of the game and that's inevitable, but I do think that they'll be a little bit more urgent when it comes to the types of players that they bring in to replace guys who maybe are going to get injured and miss the whole season or aren't performing at the level they should be performing at. I think they're going to be a lot more aggressive in that regard now. So I really liked what I heard from him. I think he was speaking very transparently, wasn't giving anybody false hope about anything, but was also reassuring people, like the fan base in particular, that look, just because we made this move for Bregman and we spent a lot of money on him doesn't mean we're cutting it off now. So lots to be excited about when it comes to what Kennedy said and when it comes to the Red Sox heading into 2025. Good vibes overall. Hopefully this Devers situation gets resolved and that it ends up being less of a thing than it needs to be. It really should not have been this big public thing. Hopefully Devers and Cora can talk individually and work it out, but we'll have to see. And spring training games do start this week, which is very exciting. So make sure you're prepared for that. New episodes coming up Monday through Friday, where I will get you ready for the season as we get closer and closer to opening day. Thank you so much for tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. As always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.